Are you ready? Well, I sure hope so, because I am. I'm JohnE.Avocado, and I'm a storyteller. I'd like you to have a seat because I'd like to be able to tell you a story from up here on the stage. The first thing I have to do, though, as a storyteller, I have to thank those individuals that gave me a platform to come and tell this story in front of you. So, Dr. Ruben West and all of your staff, both in America and here in Kenya, thank you for giving us this opportunity to tell our stories to you. Can we give them a round of applause, please? Now, as a storyteller, I was asked to come over here. Dr. West said, John, I've got a program over in Africa. We get in front of people, we influence them, we tell them their stories, and I know that you could come and tell a great story. Would you want to do that? And it took a little bit of convincing for me. My wife was a good press on that helped me make that decision. And so I said, well, I want to find out about this. I want to know, what kind of stories did you guys hear when you were over there? And so my good friend Chuck Doyle, does anybody know Coffee Cup Chuck? Coffee Cup Chuck come back to America and he says, man, when I was over there was a guy that told a story about killing a lion. I thought to myself, wow, I've got some stories, but I don't have a story about killing a lion. I heard from some other speakers and they said, man, I went over there and I heard some stories about some people that had saved all these children. I said, man, I got some stories, but I don't know that I've got a story about saving a bunch of children. They said, man, we went over there and we heard stories about men and women who influenced and made kings. I said, wow, that is an amazing story. I don't have a story about making a king. But I thought to myself, if I'm going to be in this room with these people telling these amazing stories, there's one thing that I'm going to know in every single one of their stories. There's going to be a before and there's going to be an after. And somewhere in the middle, there's going to be a point where they discover their purpose. Can you all say the power of purpose? And that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to tell you a story that instills in me every time I think of it, the power of purpose. Now, I've never told this story on a stage before, and very few people know this story. I was a loadmaster in the military on a C-130. Now, has anybody been in a plane before? You all been in a plane? Has anybody ever jumped out of a plane? Parachuted, right? Well, we all know what that is, right? So I thought, man, I know what my message is. I know my message is to talk to them about the power of purpose, but what story do I have that could really carry this through? And I thought, and I've got to tell you the story about the day that I was pulled out of an airplane without a parachute. That sound like an interesting story to you? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to take you back here a little bit. I got to take you back about 30 years, and I got to put you about 10,000 foot in the air. That's, like, 1,000 meters or so for you folks that use the other system. As a loadmaster, my job was to sit in the back of a giant cargo airplane. And at the back of the plane, we didn't just have doors on the side. We had a big door in the back. There was a ramp that opened, a door that opened kind of like a garage door, and then a ramp that fell down like a tailgate. And as a loadmaster, we got to hang out in the back, and we kicked what we called the beans, the bullets, and the boys at the back door. And it was our job, our purpose, and our mission to do what Amazon only wishes they could do. Anything, anywhere, at any time. And we trained and trained and trained to do this. Now, has anybody ever had turbulence on an aircraft before? Right? You had some turbulence. Well, as a loadmaster, you get to sit in the back of the airplane with the beans and the bullets and the boys flying by you, and the guys up front are standing on the rudder and yanking on the yoke, and you get turbulence like you're not going to believe. We call it erratic maneuvers. So when I first took on this job as a loadmaster, I didn't realize it. The loadmaster does not get a parachute. Now, would you take a job where they have a big hole in the back of the plane and they want you to stand around while all this is whizzing by you and they don't give you a parachute? I thought the same thing. And they said, well, John, it's okay. We're not going to give you a parachute because your job, we don't want you to fall out of the plane. We don't want you to get knocked out, rolled out. Anyway, your purpose is inside that plane. So as a loadmaster, instead of a parachute, what you get is a harness. And you wear this harness, it's got a web all over it, you strap it all up tight, it's got all these buckles, and it's got about 15 foot or about 3 meters of cord. And on the end of this cord is a hook. And this hook doesn't look like any other hook in the military. It's got a hook, it's got a clasp, it's got a cover, and it's got a catch. Nothing else in the military do you have to push on it that many times to open it back up. In fact, when you put nuclear codes into the missiles, you only have to enter it once. This hook was so secure, gave us such astounding security that we called it our lifeline. And we would hook this hook down to the ring, and we would stand at the very edge of this aircraft with the doors open and the wind whipping by. And we had this lifeline, and you'd snug it up tight. And you'd stand right at the edge. There was a big red line called the point of no return. Can everybody say the point of no return? Now, the point of no return was the point in the airplane that if you stepped over this line, you were actually not in the airplane anymore. You were out in space or out in the air. So the point of no return is where you would cinch up your line so that you always knew. Now, has anybody ever felt secure before? Has anybody ever had a lifeline? Worked hard to make sure that all the things that you have are secure. You put procedures and processes in place so that you can count and depend on them. Well, that's what we had with this lifeline. And has anybody had anything really secure like a hook like that you knew it was going to take a whole lot before that hook ever came undone? Man, that's what we had right there with that lifeline. So this day, we were 30,000 foot above the air, about 10,000 meters. Or no, I'm sorry, we're 10,000 foot above the air, about 1,000 meters for you guys. And we had just got rid of all these boys. We dropped some special forces gentlemen, and every time you pick them up, it's always kind of a crapshoot. You never know who you're going to get. And we got some really good guys, but there was one individual that kind of stands out, the kind of guy with the crazy eyes and the wild hair and the really strange look on his face. He was in this crew. Now, everybody else had gotten off the plane, and there I was standing right at the edge with my tassel in the back and right on the edge of the tailgate. And everyone had gone by me. The wind whipping, the engines roaring, except for one man. And here he come. And he walked up beside me. He's got this smile on his face. Not a good smile, but a terrible smile, right? You guys know this smile? And I looked down, and in the briefest of moments, I got to see his name tag. Now, we all wore name tags, and they were Velcro for a couple of reasons that we could take them on and off. But we oftentimes, when we didn't do things that mattered too much, we would wear our nicknames. Now, has anybody seen Top Gun? Yeah. Right. The nicknames from Top Gun, we got Maverick and Goose and Joker and all these fun names. Aviators, we had a lot of fun names like that. But the boys you'd kick out, the ground pounders, as we called them, sometimes their names got a little dark. Their names would be things like Killer, and on this guy's tag, it said Mayhem. Can you all say mayhem? Mayhem. So there I stood, just another day. Just another day. Can you say that? Just another day. Now, in my experience, I've discovered that extraordinary things happen on just another day. And I woke up that morning having no idea how extraordinary this day would be for me. So here come mayhem. Has anybody had mayhem walk into your life? Mayhem walks into my life. And I look out of the corner of my eye as he stands right in front of me and faces me. And he's a huge man. I mean, he filled the whole hole where they're all supposed to go out. I couldn't even see past him. And his giant hands held two things. One hand held the combat knife that should have been strapped to his chest. And in the other hand is a hook. A hook, a clasp, a cover. Nobody else has this hook. There's no, the Army doesn't have it, the Navy doesn't have it, NASA and the Coast Guard do not use this hook. The only place you find it in the entire Department of Defense inventory is on the end of a loadmaster's lifeline. And there he had it in his hand. And he looked down at me and he said, "You're coming with me." And he reached down, he stuffs his knife into its sheath, bites the hook down into his mouth, and he grabs a hold of my jacket and starts stepping backwards. Now, the first step, I thought nothing of it. I got my harness, I'm tied in. Right? Has anybody ever been sound in their belief before? All the effort and all the work you've done before. No, I'm okay. It's all right. And that first step, we crossed the point of no return. Now, every alarm in my mind went off because as a loadmaster for years and years and years, the comfortable pull and drag of that harness as I stepped up to that line reminding me that I was going to stay in this airplane no matter how rough it got, no matter how turbulent it was, no matter how much chaos was in the world outside that plane. I was going to stay grounded right inside here where I belonged. And we took that first step right past that line. Has anybody ever crossed a line? Has ever been pulled across the line? That's where I was that day. I was pulled across the line. Now, the first thing that happened to me was disbelief. And I want you to take for a moment for yourselves. I want you to think, if you were me, if you had been standing on that tailgate and mayhem came up to you, grabbed you by the chest, and pulled you across that point of no return, what would you do? Would you panic? Would you have flashbacks of the life that you had led or the one you wished you had? Well, that didn't happen to me. Because the thing that I had that we talked about here at the beginning is I had purpose. Now, as a loadmaster, my purpose was to stay inside the airplane, but I had a greater job than a loadmaster. Before I was a loadmaster, I was what we called a service member. Now, many people misunderstand the military and their role. The role we have is not one of sacrifice, it's one of service. Now, can you all say 1.2 million? 1.2 million. That's how much it cost them to teach me to be a loadmaster. At the end of your flights training, they put some pins on your chest and they hand you a stack of papers, your accolades, your accoutrements, your letters of recommendation, and at the very top is the bill. They want you to know how much the taxpayers paid to make you who you are. $1.2 million is what it took. And in the $1.2 million worth of training I got, I went and I learned to fly a plane. I went and learned to be a loadmaster. I went and I learned to survive in any condition. I went and I learned to help heal myself and heal those around me. But the one thing they did not teach me to do was die. So that wasn't part of my programming. My purpose was to serve. And the service that they taught us was service, not sacrifice. Can you say that? Service, not sacrifice. I'm going to serve, and I'm going to make sure that I survive so that I can serve again. And as a loadmaster, that was what my job was, and that was what kicked in for me. And the next step that we took, my mind suddenly turned back on. And I thought to myself, how much time do I have to take that knife from him? How much time do I have to get this parachute off of him? How much time do I have before we hit the ground together? And as I was thinking this, he takes one more step. And if we take one more step, we are not just outside the plane, we are off. We are on the very edge of the tailgate. And the comfort of my lifeline is nowhere. That hook in his teeth, that knife in its sheath, and all I could see is the blooms of parachutes behind him as they opened. And I knew that I had seconds to figure out what I was going to do. And at this point in time, I no longer decided that I was going to let him pull me out of this plane and for the two of us to get separated. So I reached out and I grabbed him. I'm coming with you. And as he smiled, the hook fell out of his mouth. He spread his arms like an angel, and he fell back. And as he fell back, I was pulled to the ground, and his hand was ripped from my arms because my lifeline finally caught. It was all just a sick joke. The man had taken a hook from somebody else and had carried it around with him and waited for just the right guy to decide he was going to play this trick on. Pretty tough lesson to learn in the military, right? Now, had I allowed myself to panic and had that situation been real, do you think I would have survived? Absolutely not. This is the power of purpose. I was going to live to fight another day. So as I wanted to tell this story to you because I know that you too are storytellers. And I know that I wasn't sent here today to talk to lion killers and kingmakers and baby saviors. I was sent here today to talk to you because I know one day you might be that kingmaker, that child savior, that lion killer. And I know that the time that you will begin to do that for yourself is the day that you determine what your purpose is. I'm JohnE.Avocado, and I want each and every one of you to discover the power of your purpose. Thank you.
Being in the military, I understand the fact of you never know what you're doing, you never know what's going to happen, and you just have to have faith in God that your purpose is what it is and do what you have to do. So thank you.
My name is Solomon. To Avocado, I also have a story for you. You know, in Kenya, we almost take every meal with avocado, right? Yeah, so my take is, you've said like there is before and there is after, right? And in between, there is a purpose, right? So what I know is purpose gives meaning to life. Without purpose, there is no meaning to life.
Thank you for all you did. As you were telling the story, you're really a storyteller. And I was walking through your stories, just feeling the feeling in itself. So, but one thing captured me: to survive, to do for your purpose another day. So I am counting my days. Like tomorrow is, if my last day is tomorrow, what did I do? So it's just captured me. Thank you very much.
Well, as a retired service member myself, first and foremost, I want to say thank you for your service.
I appreciate you. Thank you for yours.
And my biggest takeaway is when he spoke about the before and after. You know, each of us have our before and we have our after. Our before is the day that we were born. Our after is the day that we die. But what truly matters is what we do in the middle. And that revolves around our purpose. And I want to say thank you for pointing that out to us.